By defeating Ares, Kratos, the once mortal warrior, became the new god of war. However, Kratos soon found himself alone on Olympus, shunned by his fellow gods. But Kratos had no need for the love of petty gods. He had found a new family in the warriors of Sparta, gaining solace from his past and calling to battle.
My lord, Kratos! Another city is ready to fall! Soon all shall know the glory of Sparta!
Hello, once more. It's me doing an intro. Lovely shit. We are welcome
Not
to
even seconds in and
already an obscenity.
You're
That's
swearing.
that is how I roll.
Do you get up in the morning and have a wank?
I just wake up in the morning and go fuck, and then go back to sleep again, and then I get up properly. Welcome to 60-second retro
You
game.
disgust me.
I disgust a lot of people, but you know what? I don't care. Welcome to
That's
60.
the best way to be.
That's how I live my life. I improvise it and I don't give a shit. Welcome to 60-second. Oh,
It's now or never. It's now or never.
60 second
Do the podcast.
retro game.
Do the
There we
podcast.
go. I've got an inch further in. But I am Anthony Tremaine, the somewhat foul-mouthed Anthony Tremaine. With me is the equally as potty-mouthed Mr. Hatton,
Oh,
who is
He's
unfortunately
eating custard cream again.
creamed up at the
I
moment.
am. I like
And,
this.
Just to
the
soak up all the drink you've had and stop you getting
Yeah.
to the toilet through all our podcasts.
And the somewhat not quite so foul-mouthed Simon Pryor,
Good morning.
although he does have his moments. Today,
Rectum.
there you go. That's as far as we'll get. This podcast has driven itself into the ground, I think,
Yeah.
already.
Well, you've got to talk about God of War 2, and we've already
Ooh.
covered pretty much the gameplay style in God of War 1.
Yeah, so,
It's more hack and slash,
yes.
more continuing of Greek mythology.
Yes, as
The
Simon
end.
Pryor. Yes, goodbye. Thank you for listening. Yes, as Mr. Pryor says, we are we're not listening to. I've been totally thrown off now. Talking about God of War 2, the sequel to God of War, and how stupidly better than the first one it was, and the first one was pretty incredible. Let's not
Metacritic
go
score of 93.
there you go. Oh, that's a bit harsh. I'd have given it a bit more than that. But there you
Metacritic 93. I mean, you'd be hard pushed to find anything higher.
go.
Possibly
100?
Half-Life and Half-Life 2.
GTA 4, I think, that might be 90. But
There you go.
Mass Effect, possibly.
I don't know how this Metacritic system works. I don't know.
It's-
I go by GameSpot.
It averages out
Averages out everybody's
every
review.
scores.
Ah, okay. But that's in that case, yeah, that is pretty good then.
Yeah.
But you once again are thrown into the somewhat scarred boots of
He's
Kratos.
getting very angry.
He's a lot more miffed in this one. Now the new God of War, after spoilers, utterly decimating the original God of War, running him through, I do believe. And he's somewhat shunned by the gods. And as he goes down to deliver the final blow on Rhodes to help out his Spartan army, he's warned not to, and ignores all the warnings, and then has all his godlike powers ripped away from him by Zeus, who then...
But he has just enough so you can play the
yeah,
game.
just enough so you can start play the beginning.
He still
of
has
the
a
game.
bit of the god in him.
Yeah, he's like, I am the God of War, which is quite fun. Oh, it's a baby.
Oh, it's a god of war.
But he is then utterly betrayed by Zeus when he tells him to put all of his godlike powers into the Blade of Olympus, which in turn, after defeating the Colossus of Rhodes, which didn't get destroyed in an earthquake, according to this, Kratos utterly destroyed it after it was brought to life by Zeus. And he is then run through by said sword by Zeus.
Uh-huh.
And as he is dragged down into the underworld, he sees a vision of the Titan Gaia, who I think she's still trapped in Tartarus at the time, I can't remember, who tells him that he can change his fate if he goes and seeks out the Sisters of Fate and asks them to let him go back. or
Ask
whatever.
them.
Well,
Well, I think
demand them.
He asks them with the pointy end of his sword.
Yeah. And, well, yeah.
This is the pointy end.
You
don't want to see the other.
No.
That doesn't make sense.
I am the God of War.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Hack slash.
Yeah. I wonder why
Dwarves.
they got away with the fact that did they start holding auditions or recruitment for another God of War after they got rid of Kratos? Because they never had one.
Like Britain's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Greece has got gods.
Yeah.
Next time on Greece has got gods, David Hasselhoff votes in Kratos.
But you're supposed to be. Oh, makes about as much sense as having Michael McIntyre on the judging panel. There you go. And the Hoff, for example. What does he know about talent?
He knows how to drive a Trans Am.
That's about it. I think he certainly hasn't got.
He also knows how to sing to Germans
Yes, and entertainment.
and booze indiscriminately.
Yes, quite a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot bigger than the first game. I mean, from the word go, it's like, yeah, have the Colossus of Rhodes as a boss battle, like
On
shit.
like the first level.
Yeah, it's like I think the first one sort of threw you in at the deep end, well, and gave you a boss.
Yeah.
From the word go, but the Colossus is somewhat bigger than.
I think the best definition of this game is like bigger and better. It's more of the same, but
Yeah,
bigger.
it is huge, especially with like the Titans in there as well. Just
Yeah.
adding to the scale alone. I mean, it's quite nice additions to it as well. I mean, I forgot to mention any of this in the first podcast. Yeah, I mean, you get all the weapons given to you again, all the powers.
Yeah.
This time by the Titans as opposed to the gods. You can still upgrade them as you go along to the max. And then you've got
Medusa's Stare.
Yes, I
I
think
like
that
that
does make a return actually,
Yeah.
if I remember rightly. But you also get the new levels where you fly on Pegasus towards the Temple of the Fates.
Sorry. Oh.
Which they can be somewhat frustrating, those levels. But
I didn't get it. The Pegasus bit because you got all these griffins flying at you.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going and going and going. And there's one bit. It's right towards the end where you crash into the lair of Typhon.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
have to do a certain move on one of these griffins.
Yeah.
To stop it from keep going, and I just couldn't get my head around it the first time I was playing. I was like, "What on earth am I supposed to be doing?" I've got no idea, and I was just moving it, and eventually I think I fluked it.
Mm.
Like, oh, I only had to do that.
I do remember because
Oh, of course.
we played through the second one, didn't we? When you bought it, if I remember rightly.
I don't know.
Some time ago.
In the Dark Ages.
In the dark ages of the PlayStation 2. But I think it was sort of like the swan song of the PS2 as well, because
Yeah.
PS3 was knocking on the door. It wasn't far off, I don't think. Actually, no, I think it might have been out. Because Metal Gear 4 was 2008, so it must have been out by that point. Surely, or just about
well,
to
the-
come out.
God of War 2 was out in April 2007 here, and the PS3
Was not
was, I don't know when that was out in the UK, but I will just have a look on our internet searching machine.
Yes, it wasn't far.
It was released in the UK, if they're going to give me any details.
It should do.
PlayStation 3 launch, okay.
United Kingdom.
Europe. It was released in the UK March 16th, 2007.
Oh, there you go. So it wasn't. They weren't far apart. So the PS3 was out by the time.
Yeah,
God
the
of War 2
PS3 was
came
out when God of War was released.
Yeah, because that's where I've got the statement wrong I made in the previous podcast, the first game, that people saw footage of this game E3 and were turning around and saying, why do I need a PS3 when I can still get that sort of performance out of my PS2?
Yeah.
I
And it
mean,
was all downhill for the PS2 from there.
unfortunately, yes, but as is the way when a new console comes out, people will go to that and cheap games will be made for the one
Yeah.
before. But it's just, as I said before, it just makes you think that they moved on too soon, that they could have got a bit more out of it. Because, I mean, judging by that, how massive that game was, the
Yeah.
scale it was on, and then like you look at some of the PS3 games and you think, well, PS2 could have done that. I
Mm.
bet it could. Not quite on the same like detail.
A lot
but-
of the early PS3 games are essentially upscale PS2.
exactly. You know,
That's-
I mean,
like Turok, if you watch that.
yeah, that could have been easily done on the PS2, quite easily. I mean, I don't think Metal Gear Solid 4 could have. That was
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 4. That was
a PS3, yeah. But I mean,
PS3, but
early
Turok.
things like Turok could easily, and Saw could easily have been put on the PS2, and you wouldn't have really seen much of a difference, to be honest, apart from perhaps a tiny bit of detail here and there.
Yeah.
But the, I mean, it just makes you think. It's like, well, God of War 3 was huge, but God of War 2 was almost the same size. It could have almost been the same game.
Yeah.
It could have been that sort of scale, but they just moved on too soon. And I think they were just sort of finding, going, oh, Christ, I didn't know it could do this. And
Too late onto the PS3.
The PS3 came out, and unfortunately we will never know if it could have gone any further or not on that console, but there you go. But it is, I mean, the voice acting in that game as well is brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame that they didn't get Christopher Lee to play Zeus. I can't remember why he didn't do it in the end.
Everything I've seen of the God of War games, it's like, you get what you pay for. It's a typical hack and slash with a few puzzles thrown in, lots of violence.
A few puzzles.
Yeah.
It's quite a few puzzles.
Well, yeah, but puzzles, hack and slash gameplay, quick time events, and it's pretty much linear all the way through. But at the same time, you don't really care.
No, I mean,
it's not detrimental to the game. That it's all quite linear.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of control changes, like the bashing button to open stuff wasn't R2 anymore.
Yeah.
Which, when you're bashing the trigger on a PS3 pad on the remakes, you kind of think, oh, I'm going to break this in a minute. But they shifted that onto circle, which felt a bit more natural. It was easier to sort of go on it, whereas instead you're trying to reach around the back of the pad to try and bash this button, which felt a bit weird. But they changed that, but apart from that, I mean, the controls are essentially the same. It's the same sort of thing. Solve a ridiculous... I mean, it's like, again, the gameplay sort of does the locations do a bit of a 24 again.
Yeah.
Where you think it's going to be set in one place, and then it just completely shifts, and you spend... I think it's most of the game is on the Island of the Fates, isn't it?
It's been a while since I played it last.
I don't remember there being much else in the way of locations apart from that. Because you're in Rhodes to begin with.
You need a Typhon.
Yeah, then you go to wherever Typhon is, and you do the little bit round there.
Atlas.
Yes, at the centre of the world. Yeah, that was quite a clever level where you actually went inside a Titan and spent most of the level inside of him, and then you came out at the end, and it was like, oh, hello. I've just done all that for you to catch me in the end, you bastard.
I think that was just before you end up going to the temple.
Yeah, because he sort of helps you out in the end, doesn't he? Gives you all the massive backstory, and that's another fucking thing. The cutscenes, the not the in-game ones, the other, I don't know if they're pre-rendered or whatever, CGI ones I call them. They were stupidly detailed. They looked like PS3 graphics, to be quite frank. They put detail on like freckles and whatever. It was like that was unknown for most PS2 games at the time. I think it was like, fucking hell, you've put the effort into this. I mean, it's like even down to like the score. They had a massive orchestra on it, and it just felt big. It added to the... It's the only time I've ever known where the music actually added to the scale of the game.
Yeah.
And again, it just worries me that they didn't get the full potential of the PS2, and they could have got a lot more out of it, I reckon, but they just moved on. I mean, the water effects look ridiculously nice as well. Like, you could have got more. So that's another thing about the casting as well. The bloke who played Perseus in Clash of the Titans returns to play Perseus in the game. Although he suffers a somewhat more gruesome fate in the game than what he does in the film.
Yeah, it's
of the same name. Yeah. Sorry, not of the same name. Clash of the Titans.
The film Clash of the Titans.
He gets hooked quite nastily. Yes, and he then becomes part of the
problem rather than the solution.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite nice to see more the mythology spread out quite equally and nicely again. Like they bring the Kraken into this one. It looks a bit weird.
Yeah.
Other little like characters from. I mean, I have a limited knowledge of mythology, but I knew quite a bit before I played the game. And to see certain little bits of mythology brought in quite cleverly, it's like, it's a novel take on the thing. And then there's a nice little plot twist thrown in at the end. Very Star Wars-esque plot twist.
Leading into a third chapter.
Yes.
Which we've already covered.
Yes, but it was, all in all, I mean, it is if you could class any game as the swan song of the PS3, I think 2 even. Sorry, that was the one.
Yeah.
I think you couldn't get any more. It was one of the last great games on it after Metal Gear Solid 3. It sort of went, there you are. That's
Job
your
done.
lot. We're
Yeah.
off onto the next one.
Yeah.
So it was really good. I enjoyed it.
Super. Right, well, that wraps up our discussion on God of War 2.
It was more me talking.
Yeah, Ant's discussion. If you would like to send us any feedback, as always, the email address is info@randomstoke.com. You can also get in touch with us at www.randomstoke.com or via our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/randomstoke. You can see the link there.
Yeah.
So those are the ways to get in touch with us. Thank you for listening if you have been, or if you made it all the way through to the end. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.